Hare Krishna. Hello guys, welcome back to our Brainy Voyage YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to discuss about arrays. Right, generally what is meant by array in JavaScript. Okay, array is used to store multiple values in a single variable. Right, so we create a single variable and we store the multiple number of values in an array format so that we can access all the data that we have passed by just accessing one variable here. Right, so at first you should know that how to create an variable, right? So that we can discuss the functionality of an array here, right? So to create an array, I'm going to take an variable here as friends, right? So I'm going to pass friends here. Okay, so for each persons there are several friends, right? So whenever the person ask or the user or another person ask you to tell who are your friends, then you should say that all your friends, right? So this is how just accessing your friends list when the person or user asks about it, right? So generally how we can create a value to a variable, right? So we can just do that like this, right? So I'm going to initialize a variable to a value, sorry, value to a variable, right? So this is just a common variable declaration, right? So if you want to do that into an array format, you just need to enclose it with an square brackets, right? Now this is an array format, right? But array, as I said, array should contains multiple values, right? Must not contain several values. It can also contain a single value itself, right? But that doesn't require an array here, right? If you want to store a single value, you can just assign it to an variable directly, right? So the purpose of the array is to store multiple values and different type of values also, right? So I can just add strings here, or I can just add numeric values, or I can just pass them variable name also here, right? So if an variable contains a value, that value will be assigned into an array here, right? So I'm going to add an numeric value here, right? So we are going to divide the value by value by using the comma here, right? So I'm going to type a number here as 100 here, and I'm going to pass some variable also, right? So to declare an variable, I should first initialize it, right? Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to take const first name here, right? So I'm going to take some value here which is in Brainy here. Okay, so I have taken Brainy as my first name, and I'm going to pass it in here, right? So I'm going to pass first name here, right? So if I just save the file, the array has been initialized here, right? So but I haven't console logged the friends, so that I'm not getting any response in the console, right? So to get a response, I should just implement console.log friends, right? So I can just do that like this, and I'm going to save the file so that we can just see all the array in the console, right? See, if I just save the file, and I got an mistake here because I didn't launch the server here. Okay, now it should be visible to me. Okay, let me just open the console. See, I got an array here, right? So I got Krishna, and I got 100, and I got Brainy as in the console, right? So I created an array, and I have console log the value here, right? So array contains three values, right? That is the length of an array, right? Here you can also see that length is in 3, right? And the values are Krishna and 100 and Brainy here, right? So you should always remember that array's position starts from 0. You will just know about the positions in a bit, but you should just remember that array positions will start from 0 here, right? But the length is not considered with an 0 here, right? So length cannot be always 0, right? So length, if length is 0, then it will be another scenario, right? It should be an undefined, or it will be a none. So null, right? So I'm the length will not consider as a 0, and it will start from 1 to 3, right? So here I have three values, so I got length is equals to 3 here, right? But I didn't console log the specific length value here, right? But I got a length of column through 3, right? So how we can check the real value here, right? So to do that, I'm going to just pass console.log of friends dot length, right? This will give me the length of the array here, right? See, you can also see that the length of an array is 3 here, and the values are Krishna, 100, and Brainy. And in the seventh line, which is here, I got 3 in the console because I logged the length of the friends value here, right? So I got 3 in the console. So I'm going to write it in another way also here, so you can get an idea about how to write it in another way also, right? So I'm going to take in numeric values here, right? So I'm going to pass const years, right? So I'm going to take some year value here, right? So this is how we will create an array in another way, right? So I'm going to pass an new array method here, right? So you will just pass an square, sorry, brackets here, and you will pass some values here, right? So I'm going to pass 2000, and I'm going to pass 2001, and I'm going to pass 2002 here, right? So I have created an another array with the three length of 3, right? And I have initialized it to the years here, right? So if I just console log the years, I should get 2000, 2001, and 2002 in the console, right? So if I just save the file, I should get 2000, 2001, 2002, right? So I did save the file. We got the values that we are expected, and we got also the length of the array, that is 3, right? So this doesn't change the index positions also. It will start from the 0th index, right? This is how we can create an array in two forms, right? Now we are going to discuss about how we can pass the array values into an function here, right? So we can just cannot pass the array values directly into a function, right? You will just notice that in a bit, right? So I'm going to create a function here, which is calculate function here, right? So I'm going to take in function here, and I'm going to pass year, right? So here I have created the years, right? Let me just console log, sorry, comment this out. Okay, now we are just creating a function here, right? So whenever this function is called, I should console log 2024, that is this year, and I'm going to pass my year values that this is got, right? So whenever I call this function with an year, then it should perform 2024 minus the year I got, and it should console log the value, right? So I'm just going to console log this array value by just passing the years here, right? So I'm going to console log console.log of, I'm going to pass calc age function. In this parameters, I'm going to pass an array here, right? So now let's just save the file. See, we got not a number in the console because here entire array is considered as an string value here, right? Sorry, it is an array type, array here, right? So numeric value is not cannot be subtracted with an array value here, right? So now let's just replace it with an position here, right? So how we can access it with an index positions here, right? So let me just comment this out and write the functions, sorry, let me just call the function by passing the values here, right? Array values, right? So I'm going to pass calculate, and I'm going to pass the, sorry, call the values in an array by using the position of it, right? So here, if you can see that in the console, I got 2000 here, right? In the position of 0, right? So I can just pass the position by using this, right? Like years, and I'm going to pass it in an square brackets with the position of 0 here, right? So now I should get 2024 minus 2000 is 24, right? That will be console logged in the, that value will be console logged, right? So if I just save the file, I should get 24 in the console. Yes, see, I got 24 in the console, right? So 2000 sorry, 2024 minus 2000 will be 24, right? So that I got 24 in the console. right? Now I'm going to access the all values and I'm going to pass it in the calc function, and I'm going to store all of the values that I got in the array here, right? So how we can do that, right? So I'm going to create a new value here, which is an const age, and I'm going to create an array here, right? So I'm just going to take calc age function, and I'm going to pass all the array values with the position here, right? So we can do that by this, like this, right? So I'm going to pass years and dot position 0, and I'm going to pass the plus operation, or I can just simply add all of them in an array, right? So I can just separate them by using the comma operator, and I'm going to pass all the values here, right? So I'm going to pass value at the position 1, and I'm going to also pass the value at position 2 here, right? Here's a 2. Right, now if I just save the file, let me just console log the age value, right? So I'm going to console log the age value here, right? So if I just save the file, I got 24, 23, and 22 in the console. That's because 2024 minus 2000 is 24, and 2024 minus 2001 is 23, and 2024 minus 2002 is 22, right? So that we got all the values in the console, right? So if you should know that all of the values that we have passed here is performing the mathematical operations here, right? So not only just string values, not only the numeric values, we can also pass the expressions here, right? So to get a more idea, I'm going to pass the value here, right? So I'm going to add an expression here, which is 200 minus 10 here, right? So it should just pass 190 in the console, right? So I'm going to add it. See, we got 190 at the end of the position here, right? So we passed string values, we also passed numeric values, we also passed and variables, we also passed the expression in the array here, right? So we can pass all types of values in an array here, right? This is how we can create an array formats here, right? Now you should know that what are all the operations we can perform in array here, right? So there are several options here, right? So I'm going to explain it with an examples also, right? So I'm going to explain about push operation, I'm going to explain about unshift operation, pop, shift, contains, and index of, right? And I'm going to discuss about map function also, right? So now we are going to discuss about push operations here. So let me just explain it with an graph here, right? So I'm going to take some values here, which is in circle, okay? Let it be person 1 here, right? Person 1 has some friends, right? Which are of 3 rows. Let it be 3 rows for now, okay? And here I'm going to pass the value of a, here the value of b, and here the value of c, right? Yes, there are 3 friends for the person a, right? Now what is the push operation here? Generally push operation will be like this, okay? I will show you in a bit, wait a minute. Right, here I'm going to pass the push operation, okay? I'm going to add a table here. Right, so here I have initially a value, and I have b value at initially, and I have c value here, right? So if I perform the push operation, that will be going to add the value at the end of an array here, right? So whenever I perform the push operation, the value will be added at the end of the position here, right? Let's just explain it with an practically here, okay? Here we have years, right? Let me just console comment all this out here except that, okay? We have friends array here, right? So I'm going to pass some values here, right? So we can do, all we can do is years dot push, and I'm going to pass some value which is 2003 here, right? Now let's just console log the year value here, right? Console dot log years, right? Let me just open the document and let's just save the file here, right? See, we got 2003 at the end of the array here, right? So whenever I perform the push operation, the value here is going to create an empty array and empty column, and the value will be added here, right? So in our case it is 2003, right? So here it will be 2003, 2002, 2001 and 2000, right? This is how we perform the push operation here, right? Similarly we perform the pop operation here, right? Now we have this one, right? Now we have this array, right? So how the pop operation works? Pop operation is similar to the push operation, but uh, it is going to remove an element from the last index from an array, right? That's how the pop operation works here, right? This is then pop operation here. Now I'm going to pop up the value at the end of an array here, right? So years is my array value and I'm going to pop up the last value from it, right? So let me just create a table here, okay? See, this will be deleted here, right? And this value will be empty here, right? This is how we perform the push operation here, right? Sorry, pop operation. So whatever the value at the ending, that will be popped out from the array here, right? So let me just console log the value here and let's just check it in the console, right? So I'm going to pass years here, right? So if I just save the file here, I should get 2000, 2001 and 2002, right? That is worked fine. And you should always remember that pop operation works at the remaining or end of the array here, right? It cannot perform the at any position, right? That is another scenario that we will discuss in further sessions, right? So these are the just basic concepts you should remember, right? So how the unshift works here. Right now I'm going to discuss about the unshift here. This is also the op this is exactly how it works with the push operation, but it adds the value at the beginning of an array here. Right. So now the push operation works before, right, as I told the value, sorry, unshift operation works before, right? So the value gets added at the beginning of an array here, right? So let's just bring it in a practical application, right? So I'm going to add years and I'm going to unshift this operation, right? So at unshift I got initially 2000, right? And now let's add 1999 here and let's just console log the year value here, right? Console.log years, right? So if I just open the file, I got 1999 in the console in front of the 2000 here, right? So the if you can see the index of this 1999 is 0 here, right? This is the unshift operation. Similarly the shift operation, but it removes the value from an index position 0 here, right? And now let's just see that in practical application here, okay? So I'm going to pass years and I'm going to shift the file here, right? So shift and I'm going to console log the value here, console.log years, right? If I just save the file, I should get the same value as it here because I have removed the 1999 from the index position of 0. And if you can see that at the index position I got 2000 at 0, right? This is the all four type of functionalities that we are going to perform in several tutorials, right? Now let's just check how the contains and index and map functionality will work, right? Generally what is the purpose of contains here, right? So whatever the value that we are going to pass in a contains, that will check in our entire array and it will pass true or false in the console, right? If it contains the value, it will pass true, and if it not contains, it will pass false, right? I think it is not contains, it is includes, right? Sorry, by bad. Okay. So now let's just check the functionality of includes here, right? So all I'm going to do is pass the value here, right? Console.log and value. If my year value includes 2000, then it should print true, right? So let's just think of that. Okay. If I just save the file, I should get true in the console, right? See, I got true in the console. If it doesn't contains this value, then it will remove, sorry, we will get false in the console, right? This is how we check an value if it contained in the array or not. If there is a value that is contained in the array, then we will get true and we perform some operations, and if it not contains, then we perform some other another operations, right? So this will be mainly used in verification of user authentication, right? If it contains the username, then it should print true. If it not, then the operation should fail, right? This is the important thing that you should know, right? So now let's just get to know about index of also, right? So I'm going to pass index, right? So index of is used to get the index of an value that present in the array here, right? If the value contains in the array, then it will pass the index of the value in an array. If it doesn't contains, it will pass -1, because the value which is not contained in an array, that will be in that will be neglected, right? In case of passing the false value, we will get an -1 value, right? So let's just check this one here, right? So here what will be the output for your case, because it contained 2001, right? So the position will be 1, right? So if I just save the file, I got 1 in the console, right? Because as I said, the position of 2000, sorry, the position of array starts from 0 here, right? So 2001 is at the position 1, right? So the value that contained, the value we passed is in the index of 1, right? So that we got 1 in the console. Let's just pass some value that doesn't contains in an array, right? 1001 is not present in the console, right? So if I just save the file, I will get -1 in the console, because that's the functionality of an index of position here, right? So if the value doesn't contains in an array, we will get -1. If it contains, then we will get the index of that value, right? And you should also know the functionality of mapping here, right? You will see this in further cases, but you should get to know how we will use this, right? Okay, now let's just discuss about the map function here, right? I have commented this all entire code, right? So if you can see that we have already written the map functionality, sorry, we have already performed the calc case operation here, right? In this case, we got an error, right? So whenever we passed an array into an function, we got not a number in the console, right? Now we can, let's just check it again. Okay, see, we got not a number in the console, right? That's because we cannot pass an entire array into an function here, right? Now all we can do is just add one functionality here, right? So if I just enclose it with the map function here, right? So I'm going to add years dot map here, right? So if I just save the file, then we should get the values that we are expecting, right? Which is 24, 23 and 22 in the console, right? But we don't need this here, right? Because we are performing the map operation that is going to take the year values here, right? So if I just save the file, we will get a 24, 23, 22 in the console, right? This is how the map functionality works. But I am going to tell you one more thing here, which is I forgot to explain when at the first case, right? So if I just pass years here, right? At initially this will convert into an entire string here, right? So the values with a numeric value and string values will automatically convert into the string value, right? That's the functionality of concatenation here, right? So whenever I am performing the addition operation, this 2024 and the array index value at the 0th position will concatenate each other here, right? So I got 2024 comma 2000 in an attached to, sorry, concatenated with each other, right? So it gave me some enormous value, right? And we got 2001 and 2002 in the console, right? But if I just perform the minus operation, it will give us not a number operation, right? So to overcome that, we got map functionality here, right? I think you got a rough idea about array values here, right? Let's just meet it in the another class. Hare Krishna.